Hello, I'm Richard Seltzer. I'd like to share with you my favorite book, The Lizard of Oz, which I self-published 46 years ago. I'm going to read to you the new, improved, and expanded edition, which I just finished writing and which is not in print. I'll make a separate video for each chapter. The original edition had illustrations by Christin Couture. I'll show you one of those pictures at the end of this video. Chapter 23, The Mouth of the Nile. The next morning, Miss Osborne woke everyone up at dawn. Skipping breakfast, she packed the kids into the VW. Sue sat on the roof again. Daniel Boone gave Mr. Newman a coonskin cap. "Is that real coonskin?" asked Mark. "No, of course not," said Mr. Boone. "There's no point in killing a critter just for a hat." With his new hat and his face paint and beads, Mr. Newman looked like an Indian scout. He ran ahead with Crazy Horse. About noon, Donnie spotted the redcoat sergeant. He was in the porch of a cabin, smoking a pipe and rocking in a rocking chair beside his wife. He looked happy. "Home is where the art is," he said. Well, Miss Osborne wanted to know what this place had to do with the place she was going to. She was in too much hurry to stop and ask. She had to get to home, and nothing was going to slow her down. They drove for hours, crossing more and more moors. Miss Shelby whispered to Miss Osborne, "You don't think we're lost, do you? I'd hate to be lost in the wilderness." "There's nothing to worry about, Miss Shelby," Miss Osborne reassured her. "Crazy Horse knows the way." Miss Shelby was amazed at how confident Miss Osborne was now. She crossed her finger and shut her eyes and tried to imagine what it would be like to have such faith, but she was so hungry that all she could imagine was food. Just then Mr. Newman shouted, "Man alive!" Donnie said, "Gosh, it's raining bread." Miss Shelby reached out the window, caught some, and ate it. "Like manna from heaven," she said. "Yes," Miss Osborne said matter-of-factly, focusing on her driving. "It probably is." Everybody was gobbling manna. Between bites, Mark asked, "What's manna?" "Well," said Miss Shelby, "it's usually a figure of speech, but since we're approaching the Nile, this just may be the real thing. I don't know what else it could be. It's probably a local phenomenon caused by the geography and the climate. Legend has it that long ago a man named Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt." Mark asked, "How many kids did Israel have?" "Lots of kids," answered Miss Shelby. "As many kids as our class?" "Oh, many more than that." "Gosh," said Donnie. "And Moses led the children of Israel across the Red Sea?" Mark asked. "Were they in Red Land like us, Miss Shelby?" "No," explained Miss Shelby. "They were in exile in Egypt." Donnie asked, "Did they send notes to each other on an exilophone?" "No, I don't think so, but they did leave their place of exile and they headed for their promised homeland." "Gosh," said Donnie, "everybody's trying to go home or home." They all started looking for the children of Israel. Miss Shelby explained, "That was a long time ago. You won't see them now." Mark asked, "You mean they're all grown up now?" "Yes, I suppose they are. After they crossed the Red Sea, they wandered lost in the desert for 40 years, Eugene said. "I guess it was like Winthrop, without any street signs, a place where it's easy to get lost." "Yes, I suppose it was," Miss Shelby agreed. "But they finally found their promised land." "Did they live happily ever after?" asked Gano. For a while, yes, but what I started to tell you was that while they were in the wilderness, a bread-like substance called manna rained on them, and it was manna that kept them alive through their long journey." Cindy said, "That's a good story, Miss Shelby." "I thought you'd enjoy it. History is full of good stories. Some people say that history repeats itself, and that's why we should read it. That's a silly idea, what with the way things change and people learn and progress. But history has so many good stories that there's no need to think up reasons for reading it. When we get back to school, we can read some together." "Gosh," said Donnie, "what a big mouth." Miss Shelby was taken aback that Donnie would say such a thing about her. She didn't know what to say until she saw the mouth herself. A huge, wide-open mouth, swallowing manna. "That must be the mouth of the Nile," she said. Donnie said, "It's a whale's mouth, and there's somebody inside." "Oh," said Miss Shelby, "that must be Jonah." "No," said the person in the whale. "My name is Joan, and this is the Ark. Haven't you ever heard of Joan of Noah's Ark?" Miss Shelby explained. Long, long ago, there was a great flood that covered the earth. Some people say that it happened because people were evil. What's evil, Miss Shelby? Asked Mark. That's when people are naughty all the time, explained Miss Shelby. Eugene asked, what was wrong with them? Were they disenchanted? That's one way of putting it. Yes, some people were bored and disenchanted and they became naughty. But a man named Noah stayed enchanted. He built a big boat that he called the Ark, and he took on 2 of every animal he could find. Then when the flood came, he and his family and the animals sailed away and had a long boat ride. That sounds like fun, said Cindy. When the flood died down, they went ashore and started the world all over again, Miss Shelby added. Cindy asked, what happened to the other people? They drowned. Ooh, that's awful. You just step aside, said John. I'll let down the gangplank and let the gang out. It's supper time and they're all very hungry. Thousands upon thousands of animals came rushing out, 2 of every kind. The whale comes here every time he and his friends get hungry, explained John. And they get hungry often, so often some people call him the mouth of the Nile. Gino recited, egg head south to the mouth of the Nile and find the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for smiles and smiles till supper time. She was very proud that she remembered all the witch's poem. Soon all the kids were playing with the animals. Linda C. was talking to a pig. Donnie let an owl try on his brand new glasses. Timmy slid down the trunk of an elephant. Kevin and Joey were climbing all over the whale. Kevin said, maybe this is the big white whale that Sinbad the sailor was looking for. I don't know that story, said Miss Shelby, but I do know one about a man named Ahab. What happened to Ahab? Asked Kevin. He drowned. That's not a very good story, said Kevin. Sinbad just kept having more and more adventures. I bet he's still having adventures. Donnie walked up to Miss Shelby, bringing his owl. With Donnie's glasses on, the owl looked very human. Miss Shelby, said Donnie, maybe this is like Circus Island, and these are all people who are turned into animals. That sounds like reincarnation, said Miss Shelby. Is that some kind of milk? Asked Donnie. No, it means being born again. Some people believe that all animals were once people, and all people were once animals. They say that every living thing has a soul and feelings, just like the little blue wallflower, and people should be careful not to hurt them. Gaynell rode a unicorn. Kathy found a white charger and looked all over for its rider. The scene seemed strangely familiar to Miss Osborne, as if she had been here before or dreamed about it. Everything was turning out well. The whale would take the class to Ulm, and everybody would live happily ever after. Crazy Horse and Sue said their goodbyes. We give 'em music. Music, mighty strong medicine. They started singing, Joshua at the Battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. The class knew the words this time, so they all joined in. I'd like to show you one picture from the first edition of The Lizard, the illustration by Christin Couture. This is a picture of Joan of Noah's Ark, and she's there with a big toothbrush. She's ready to brush up on the whale's tooth, brushing up on the tooth. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Please watch the rest of the story. I'm making a separate video of each of the 27 chapters. Feedback welcome. My name again is Richard Seltzer, as an Alka-Seltzer. My email is seltzer@seltzerbooks.com. All Things That Matter Press recently published 3 other novels of mine, Parallel Lives, Beyond the Fourth Door, and Nevermind. You can find those all at Amazon as paperbacks and as ebooks. They can be read in any order. They're independent stories with overlapping theme and styles. Each presents a different view of reality, a different way of trying to make sense of the mysteries of life.